Okay.
What is up, guys? Kevin from the KO Sports Corners. This is football in Florida, maybe the final episode of the regular season slash playoffs. Miami did make the playoffs. They will be facing the Buffalo Bills. It'll be Skylar Thompson versus Josh Allen in Orchard Park. Sean, how we doing? Miami wins the final game of the season by a score of 9-6. Um, Not good. Not good for
11,
the Dolphins. What? Oh, 11?
11-6. Don't forget that critical safety
They got the
at the
safety at the end, finally?
at the end. They
I
did.
completely forgot. Yeah. All right, Sean, how we doing?
Oh well, hey, you got to be in it to win it. Third Dolphins playoff game of the 21st century. So I'm excited for that, and trying to really lock into focusing on that positive. And third straight winning season for the Dolphins. First time that's happened since 2003. So feeling good, and we don't need to analyze it anymore, right? We could just turn the show off now.
I think it's time. I would want to mention a fun fact though. So Miami's once again going with the backup quarterback in the playoffs. The last time it was Matt Moore, and the time before it was Chad Pennington. So Miami's not lucky when it comes to quarterback play in the playoffs, I guess we could say. Sean.
Pennington was the starter, and he
He was
was
a starter? Jesus Christ, that's not good.
yeah, no, he was that was his great, until that game he was awesome. He was key for that season. That was that Wildcat year, but yeah,
It
once
was
we
a
got into
Wildcat.
the playoffs,
Maybe Miami should run a Wildcat with Tyreek tomorrow. Just
every
for the
every snap, every snap. When he's not doing it, Waddle is. That's our only
yeah.
that's our only shot.
So I want to mention that we're recording this on a Saturday, the day before the game. This will be up Sunday morning, or maybe right after this. After we record it, it'll be up. But all right, so I think we should recap the season first, and then we'll get into the playoffs, and then the Jets game right before we talk about that. So Miami starts off hot as one of the hottest teams in the NFL, 3-0. Then they lose 3 straight after Tua goes down. They lost Cincinnati. I believe they went over to New York. They lost that one, and then they lost the Minnesota game. So Miami then goes on to rally on and win 5 straight. You're 8-3. You're feeling good. You have a chance to win the division. Miami loses against San Fran. Miami loses against the Chargers. And then you go into Buffalo and you lose another one. And then you lose 2 more, obviously, because they lost to the Patriots and they lost to, Sean, remind me, I believe they lost to another team there.
They lost to the Patriots, the
Oh,
Packers
Green Bay,
on
Green
there.
Bay. There it is.
Yeah,
That's
Green Bay was the next loss.
Yeah, and Miami was in a lot of these games, a lot of these games. You could look back to San Francisco, you could see the score, but that really wasn't how Miami played that game. Miami just threw in a backup at the end. Miami was very close with Buffalo. Miami had that game won. The only really reason they lost it was just a late field goal there by Buffalo to win it all. And
Well, that's the thing with so much of their misfortune. Like we could explain away so much of it. So 3-0 start, that's great. Everything worked. We're all geniuses. 50,
yeah,
it's a super team. Then Tua's out. He gets knocked out of the Cincinnati game, doesn't finish that game, and that also plenty of other injuries. They were so beat up heading into that first loss, right? That game that the Dolphins won against the Bills, but famously in South Florida in those horribly warm temperatures for Buffalo fans.
yeah.
And just so we weren't going to win that one. Short week, tough physical contest anyway, missing plenty of key players before Tua got knocked out. So we could excuse that away when those players are still injured, when Tua doesn't play against the Vikings. We lose a game that was close into the fourth quarter.
Yep.
We lose to the Jets, a game that was close until the fourth quarter and then went to hell on there. But still, that was with the third string quarterback playing for most of it. Then Tua comes back, things are great, you win 5 straight, and then all those losses after it. Could explain it again. The 49ers, well, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. With their Can't feel too bad about that. Lose to the Chargers, we had to spend 2 weeks in California. How unfair is that? Lose to the Bills, there was snow. Who plays football in snow? What the hell? On there, and plus third road game in a row. Then all right, then we get home and play the Packers, and we lose. That's when you first time start. Yeah, a horrible Patriots team, probably the worst Patriots team of the 21st century, honestly. And then you lose that one too. So that's when we started really questioning and freaking out about this season. But even that game, we played without Tua.
Yeah. And you don't
So
feel much better about it as well, Sean. I mean, you're going into this playoffs with Skylar Thompson. I mean, no knock on Skylar Thompson. He had an amazing preseason. He helped the Dolphins get into the playoffs. He was a big factor in that Jets game. He kept them in there. I mean, he got in the field goal range, I guess, if you want to call it, setting up Jason Sanders. He played well. He played well during the stretch. He had some good moments in that Patriots game.
uh,
He played all right.
has he played
Good. I
well
mean,
since the preseason?
he hasn't been horrible. He's kept the Dolphins in there sometimes.
It's this is right around the time where I feel the need to remind fans that Brock Purdy was on the board when the Dolphins drafted Skylar Thompson. And there is a seventh round pick quarterback who just went crazy in the NFL playoffs. So it's possible to do. But so we'll see if we get those 4 touchdowns from Skylar tomorrow. But
We hope. We do hope. But all right. So Miami goes into trade deadline. I think we should talk a little bit over that, recap that as well. Miami acquired Bradley Chubb. Really, how would you describe Bradley Chubb's tenure with the Dolphins so far? I mean, he there's moments where he looks great, and then there's moments where you forget Bradley Chubb is a Dolphin.
I mean, it's so I mean, clearly, I guess we have to say it kind of failed, right? Like we're going to get this defensive piece to push the defense over the top, kind of turn the unit around, make them more of a factor, late in games. And you got him because, even if he can't do it all himself, that he'd make that one big play. I mean, you trade that what we did for Bradley Chubb, expecting a strip sack return for a touchdown, critical turnover, to change field position, put the Dolphins in position to win it. And he hasn't had that play on there. No, he has been hurt, so that's a bit unfair to him. And there were definitely high expectations. There have been other injuries on the defense that have played a factor in him not maybe being able to be the force that we thought he would. But still, I'm glad he's on the team. He would have been, I think, the best pass rusher available, and the Dolphins needed a better pass rusher. So it's great that they got him locked up. So going big picture, I think it's a good move. But for what he was supposed to do for the 2023 team, it's not. I don't think they got the return they were hoping for.
Yep. But I mean, Miami locked him up till 2027. So we hope that he has another amazing, or hopefully he could have a good 2024 for the Dolphins. And then Jeff Wilson was the other acquisition. He's going to be huge in tomorrow's game against Buffalo, as Raheem Mostert is out with a broken thumb. So it'll be Jeff Wilson and Salvin Ahmed. So Sean, Jeff Wilson, I mean, he came in and he was really impactful right from the start. Then he kind of slowed down after Raheem Mostert really got it going, and then now he's gonna have to step it up again.
Yeah, I mean, they alternated that all season, right? So I mean, that's the injury that probably concerns me the least. I mean, obviously I would love to have both of them out there contributing, but I feel like to describe either one of them going out as the Dolphins lost their starting running back, and with all that entails, there is, it's a bit misleading because, they've both had games where they've made themselves look like the clear number one for the Miami Dolphins, down the stretch. So he's definitely capable of dialing it up, and, that's what they're going to have to lean on.
Is there anything else you want to talk about throughout the season? I mean, we really didn't talk about we've been off the pod for a while, but we really couldn't recap many games. So any of these games throughout the final stretch you really want to talk about, although they were mostly all losses?
Not really. And well, I kind of made light of the fact that we can come up with excuses for some of those losses. I mean, some of them weren't bad excuses, right? I mean, I didn't expect to win that 49ers game. The Buffalo game, they probably would have won if it didn't start snowing. That game starts 10 minutes earlier in the day. The Dolphins probably win that game.
Yep.
And then the whole narrative on the season is different, even if just that one game, changed. I think the most concerning ones were the Chargers game and the Packers game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
the
Patriots.
one
You could
where,
even argue the Patriots one too.
yeah, I mean, that's just where talent on the roster still should have been enough to trump. I mean, I'm really was not impressed by anything the Patriots had going for them, this season. But again, Tua didn't play for that one, so it's really the ones where Tua played the majority of the game and didn't and wilted are the ones that concern me the most, and that's the Chargers game and the Packers game. What about you?
What about me? I mean, These games are not fun to watch, Sean, but I do want to say I felt a little better after the Buffalo game, just in terms of what the rivalry entails and how Miami plays
Mhm.
against Buffalo itself. Miami played really damn well against Buffalo. They played an excellent game in Buffalo. And you mentioned if it wasn't for the snow, I do believe Miami wins that game. I mean, the field goal really just screwed him over at the end. The PI call towards the end as well, if you remember that. Horrible PI
Yep.
call that really screwed Miami over. I think it was Cater Kohu. They got a huge stop. You thought they got the huge stop, and then the PI call was in there, and that's really where Miami got screwed over. But you felt really good entering the next game. You're like, all right, it's okay. Miami lost the division, but we're gonna go in there. We're gonna win the next couple games. Basically, just sweep the rest of the crowd out. Feel good, enter the playoffs. But now Tua gets the concussion, and the season basically goes to hell after that. I mean, you lose a huge game to the Patriots, which you needed to win. The Seahawks did their end to beat the Jets. And if it was Jets lost, Dolphins win, Dolphins get in already. Now you have to go back to Miami, play the Jets. Luckily, Miami really got lucky there. Defense stepped the hell up in that game, made some huge stops. I would say at least against
Such a
it was very disappointing game. I mean, I would have liked to see Skylar.
such an ugly game. I
It was
mean,
just an
that's
ugly
we just
game. Yeah,
we
that's what.
it was a shitstorm of an exhibition. We've
Yeah.
just got to call that what it was. My wife, who's not the biggest football fan, was watching. She had a bit of a code. She was like watching that game with me and just laying there and just commenting repeatedly on what a horribly shitty football game was. And as a change of pace from commenting on how shitty it was that I watch as much football or sports as I do, or that it's shitty that we have to watch football again. But no, just commenting objectively that this is one of the worst football games I've ever seen. This is terrible. To get the emotion from her to repeatedly say how shitty the playing was hammers home the majesty of that 11-6
Yeah.
victory. It was definitely this weird epitaph on the season that we were just, it was so violent. The stakes are huge. I mean, like coaches, being retained or fired in the winning season or losing season, into the playoffs or not. There was so much writing on such a painful to watch football game. Was definitely an interesting experience.
And I still do want to mention that
But they
Miami,
won.
they won. That's what matters. They won. They're in the playoffs. They're gonna lose next. They're gonna lose tomorrow, but it's all right. I mean, the only thing I really want to mention here is that Miami finished with the 9-8 record, which is good for second in the AFC East. Last year they finished with the 9-8 record under Brian Flores. So I don't know. Take that as you will. I do believe Miami could have finished with a better record if it wasn't for their shitty play, as we all say. These last 5 games and that losing streak, especially the Jets game, they played like garbage in that Jets game. No offense to the Dolphins offense. Good for the defense. They stepped up. They made some pretty good plays, but you cannot be playing like that entering the playoffs, especially against Buffalo. And I think that's the best way to enter now. Sean, how are you feeling about the playoffs for Miami? We all think this will be over by maybe the first quarter, maybe a couple minutes into the game, but I don't know why. I have a good feeling this defense is going to step up tomorrow, and they're going to play not lights out, but they're going to play enough to keep Skylar in this for at least a quarter or two.
I'm willing to believe the game will be closer than we're projecting. I mean, like we could. I think most fans have been joking all week that the 62-7 loss to Jacksonville, and is in jeopardy for like the worst Dolphins playoff performance. But but usually when sorry, usually when you predict a catastrophe, you end up with a closer contest than is expected. But that being said, I'm expecting the Bills to be heavily motivated, for reasons that they've wanted this for so long. They're easily one of the 2-3 best teams in the NFL. They're mostly healthy going into this, and there's the matter of Damar Hamlin and the motivation coming off of that. So being in front of the home crowd, faithful, I'm sure that's going to give them an emotional lift, and it should. And I just I do expect Buffalo to win, but I could see it being closer, and I just have to believe that Brock Purdy is his performance today should give us hope that maybe another 7th round quarterback could work some magic.
That's what we hope, and I do think Miami will keep it close. I mean, there's not going to snow. Let's start with that one. It is not going to snow in
Buffalo. Okay.
So it looks good. favorable conditions for Miami. This defense looks really pumped up. I mean, you just like a Jalen Phillips, especially who I think I heard a little portion of his, and he looks pumped up. He looks ready to go. He says, doesn't matter. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna play football, win or lose, and we're gonna have some fun. And hopefully that is the case. Maybe he just waved the white flag right there in front of all the media. But when he says win or lose, but it's okay. I do think this defense will step up. Now, Skylar Thompson, if Skylar Thompson could just run a little bit more himself, take it in himself, I do think Miami could have a chance. I know Buffalo, do they struggle against the run a little bit, Sean?
They struggle a little bit against the run. What I didn't look up was how they fare against running quarterbacks. Now they've managed to contain them, because that's, Thompson does have a speed element, and that's what frustrated me the most in the Jets game. I just couldn't, as good as the Jets defense is, still I couldn't understand how he couldn't get a couple more scrambles going, because that was something else he was able to do in the preseason anyway, and even other games this season
Bad decisions.
where he's been on the field.
Just bad decisions. Go ahead.
And the other thing that gives us hope is, to your point earlier, just that the Dolphins have played Buffalo tight. And that was really the big test for them going into this season, was that they needed to put together a roster that could compete with the Bills after getting, blown out of the water by them repeatedly the past few seasons. This year, for game one, they beat Buffalo with their pretty much full strength roster that they were planning to go into the year with. Game two with maybe 80% healthy roster, 75% healthy roster. They almost beat them. And it is unfortunate that game three, the rubber match, as it were, is a completely injury decimated, roster. But still, they did what they needed to do. They put together a team that, when healthy, is capable of competing, if not beating, Buffalo. Yeah. And Miami did do that in 2022. Yeah. Will they do it tomorrow?
Yeah. Maybe don't want it. I don't know if they'll win tomorrow, man. I don't think they will, but I do hope it's a good game at the end of the day. If Miami puts up a fight, that's more than enough to, feel good about where this team stands unhealthy. Because I think this team healthy with Tua, I do think Miami has a really, really good chance to win this game, especially with how they played in Buffalo on Saturday night. If you remember that, man, you got
absolutely.
Snow or no snow, they played amazing all the way till the end. Just got screwed over with the PI call there. But all right, let's talk about what key players maybe we could see in this game, Sean, especially on the Miami side. We already know the guys on Buffalo. Stephon Diggs, you have Gabe Davis, you have Devin Singletary, Josh Allen, that offensive line. That team is stacked. Miami is decimated by injuries. Is Terrell Armstead playing? I believe so, right?
He's everything is looking like he's going to try to suit up. Right. He was active in one practice this week. We'll have to see.
Not good. All right. So Liam Eichenberg, I know, is out. You have Raheem Mostert, who was out. Tua was out. I'm missing some other guys, huh?
Well, all the guys who've been gradually hurt all season, but those are the most recent injuries. If Armstead plays, then they're going into it pretty much as healthy as we could expect them to. Okay. I think Waddle's been nursing an ankle this week, but he's going to play.
Yeah. So I think the key player for this game is going to be Jeff Wilson. I mean, if you're going to take advantage of the run game, you have to do it with Jeff Wilson. I think Salvon Ahmed could be a pretty good player tomorrow for the Dolphins. I think he could be a key factor there. But actually, I want to ask you, they called up LaMichael Pirine. Is Myles Gaskin out or something?
I guess he would have to be, right?
That's super weird that they called it.
Me as odd. I didn't know Pirine was on the Dolphins, honestly, until a couple weeks ago. No.
That's weird. Okay, well, so I think Jeff Wilson, that run game is going to be key, and I think if Skylar could just run the ball himself a couple times, when you find yourselves in those situations where you're scrambling for your life, just run the ball. You're a very fast and mobile quarterback. He's a great mobile quarterback, I would say. If there's something I feel good about Skylar Thompson, it's the fact that he could extend plays and run the ball, but he just doesn't run. He tries to always go pass heavy. And I know, and I've always seen this, he tends to always want to run the ball with his running backs. He wants to give it to his running backs always first. So if Miami's going to run the ball, you have to do it efficiently. And I think that's going to be key to the game.
They're going to have to lean heavily on the run game. I am going to want to see Thompson be a little more aggressive. Although you could tell in the Jets game, and this was with 100% correct game planning, that he was told, do not turn the ball over, whatever you do. Like the defense, like against this opponent, where the defense is going to be able to keep us in it. This is going to be about defense and field position and kicking. There's like, don't turn the ball over on there. And you could see like he was just, taking, well, we've been spoiled a bit by Tua's release, over the season, that still there were times where Thompson was just holding on to it, like to like make sure he didn't make a critical mistake. He's going to have to be a little more, he's going to have to push it a little more against this team, because Buffalo is going to score. Even if the defense has a good game, their offense is going to put up points. And you saw a couple of throws in the Jets game where, he did, get the pass off with some velocity into tight windows to Hill, to Waddle on there. So they're going to have to do a lot of play action passing, I think. But to set that up, they're going to need to pull off everything you just said with the run game.
And that's why I think the run game is important. I just don't know how much. I would like to see Tyreek involved in the run game. Now, we saw him receive a punt, the first one last year. I don't know how much of a factor the punt game is going to be for both sides, but if Miami's defense steps up, we're going to see the Buffalo punt team out there a while. So I would like to see Tyreek receive punts. I don't know if you fall in that same category as me.
Yeah, at this point, there's a whole offseason. So if I agreed with it, I think for the most part during the season that Waddle and Hill were too valuable, at least to use regularly anyway on punt returns. I think they could have done it, risked it, once a game or something, for each of them to mix it up. But they shouldn't have been a primary returner. But now, with as banged up as we are, then they need to get an explosive play everywhere they can.
Anywhere, yeah. And now the pass game. Skylar Thompson does not pass the ball much, Sean. So how much of a factor do you think that will be? And it all relies on Thompson when it comes to passing the ball, because for these guys to make something happen, you got to pass the ball. So how much of a factor do you think Skylar Thompson will get on the air tonight, or how good will he be when it comes to the passing game tomorrow against a really good Buffalo defense, especially their secondary?
Oh, how good will he be? I think poor, but I think that the key to victory is him attempting, to be good. They're going to have to ask him to do much more than they asked him to do against the Jets, against the Patriots the week before.
Yeah. Because
he's going to have to be able to do some heavy lifting.
So let's say Miami does beat Buffalo somehow. It's not going to get much easier from Buffalo. I mean, you just beat maybe the best team in the AFC, the team that probably will make the Super Bowl. Who do you go up against? Kansas City? Oh, no, it's Cincinnati. You go back to Cincinnati.
Would it be Cincinnati on there? I thought they wouldn't just play the number 1 seed.
Is it Cincinnati?
I think KC ended up at the 1 seed. So no, it would be I'm pretty sure it would be the Chiefs.
Well, whoever it is, it's not going to get much easier, but you'd rather play Cincinnati since you beat that team before in years past. So, and I think with Tua, they would have won Thursday night. But is there anything else? I mean, I guess we could do predictions. What do you think the score is, and who do you think wins? We all know who's going to win, but what's the score in the MVP of the game?
I'll be nice. Buffalo 31, Dolphins 17.
Right.
The
MVP.
Josh Allen. He's just gonna Josh Allen us.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What do you think?
MVP Josh Allen. Miami loses 38-21. I'll be nice as well. I think I'll be a nice guy to Miami. But all right, Sean. I think this will end it. Anything else?
And I'll say that all comes in the second half. I think I'll agree with you that it'll be a close first half, and then Buffalo get a locker room speech.
These guys. They're losing to Skylar Thompson. All right. Well, I think this. Well, actually, I want to get your thoughts. Miggy Rowe trade.
Well, for me, it depends what they do next, how I feel about it. In a vacuum as a baseball move, they basically traded a Miguel Rojas of 1 year of control for a kid that's going to probably projects to grow up to be Miguel Rojas. So 1 year of control for 6 years of control.
Better offensive player.
It makes sense. Seems to have a little more power in his profile, a little and really made some strides getting on base this past season. So excited excited to see what he develops into. In terms of making the 2023 Miami Marlins a better team, there's really no way to argue that they just did that.
Yeah.
And you can make the offensive case that while there maybe only three shortstops in baseball are better than Rojas defensively right now, the Marlins might have three shortstops on their 40 man that are better at hitting,
Yeah.
than he was. So there is that to be said, but still, with what he means to the locker room and the team and that defense, which is nothing to ignore, they're going to have to reinvest that money for me to think that they help the 2023 team ultimately. Like that $5 million needs to go to Andrew Chafin, or it needs to be part of whatever center fielder is ultimately acquired in the next couple of weeks. Or if they put that money back in and don't just tell us, oh, it's Segura's money, like retroactively, then
Right.
then I'm okay with it. What about you?
I like it. I like the trade. You get rid of $5 million. You get rid of Miguel Rojas, which, by the way, the video Sean and I filmed, it's gonna go out. At least the draft portion of the video, will go out. And Sean drafted Miggy Rowe, but we're still gonna keep it.
I did. That's I waited till round 7 because I thought he might be leaving, but
but we'll still release the video. It was a good video. We had a good time drafting Marlins, so that'll go up at some point this week. I like the Miggy Rowe trade. I think I've said this. I think I mentioned this before. It was a pretty good trade. You get someone in Jacob Amaya who just walks at a 14% rate, strikes out 20% or so rate. So you feel pretty good about that. Kim Young mentioned at some point he'll be on the major league roster. I think it's a good shot to crack the opening day roster. If he just has a great spring over Joey Wendell, you definitely have to give him the starting shortstop spot. He's a younger version of Miguel Rojas, as you mentioned, Bordy. Better offense. He's just better offensively. I like him offensively better, more power than Groshans and Xavier Edwards. He fits the profile of what Miami's just new mold that Miami's trying to look for. Who's a contact hitter who gets on base at a high percentage. Jacob Amaya fits exactly that, and you get plus power with 17 homers in AAA and AA. So you feel pretty good about someone like Amaya, who you could probably pair up with Jazz there, and it's a Dodger. At the end of the day, he was a former LA Dodger, developed by the Dodgers from start to finish. So you feel pretty good about where you are when it comes to finding that type of talent from an organization as good as LA, who develops amazing hitters. And now you have Brant Brown, who's part of that organization. So
yeah, it's a good point.
And I don't know if you were on the Spaces the other day with Craig, but he mentioned that Brant Brown has just completely changed the philosophy for this team when it comes to hitting. So, and everyone likes it so far. So you have to feel really, really good about what
That's probably the thing that's excited me the most this offseason is hearing Craig say that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, okay, all right.
And not only that, but Avi Garcia slimming down. You see these guys at the ballpark every day working out, getting work in. So you feel really, really good about where this team is at currently. And I don't think this team's gonna make the playoffs by any means, but 75 to 80 wins, it's definitely possible. I would say you just acquire one more bat and you feel
that. Well, to say that's it, and one more trade, and I'll believe 75 to 80.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you want to add anything else, Dolphins, Marlins, before we hop off and sign off?
No, I mean, just again, you got to be in the playoffs to win. That's I've mentioned before. It's only the third time
in the playoffs.
Third time this century, and that's one thing that bugged me this week is some people just like, do we even want to make the playoffs if we're gonna you want to make the playoffs. That's what this is all about. So
I feel good about it.
Yeah, so I'm happy to watch a playoff game. That's the first time I've been able to watch a live Dolphins playoff game since 2000.
Oh, really?
I was on vacation for the other two.
Oh,
and so I couldn't.
I'll be at work for the first half of the Dolphins game, but I'll try to sneak in some action while I'm over there. But all right, Sean, thank you for hopping on as always. I think,
of course,
I don't know what we'll do with football in Florida. Maybe we have to shift over this to Miami Hurricanes talk, FIU Panthers talk. So start doing your homework on the Panthers. So we'll see what we going through. Maybe we recap a little bit of the Dolphins season, little by little, talk about position by position, or
recapping and talk draft. We could.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what draft we'll talk. They don't have a first rounder this year, but we'll definitely look into the later rounds because they lost their first rounder because of the tampering situation. We'll see if Miami does end up moving away from Tua or sticking with Tua. I do hope they stick with him, by the way. The concussions, yeah, they do scare me, but man, he showed more than enough to say that Tua is a quarterback of the future. So,
Yeah, I'm almost fully there that they should keep him for another year.
yeah, unless they get Derek Carr.
Uh, I'd rather have.
I'd rather
I
have
think
Tua.
I think I'd take Jay Fiedler now than Derek Carr. But
All right. So that's where we're on it from Sean, myself. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Go fish and go Fins.